Hey guys, there's one time frame I want to emphasize in the long range forecast portion of this video, the first half. I think during this period we could see a stronger storm system, perhaps the return of severe weather or even a powerful winter storm, or maybe a mixture of everything. Right now, there's no single storm we're locking onto. We're continuing our quiet push of weather, which I certainly appreciate, although I've been enjoying this quieter phase. We're going to break down everything we know in this video with each section clearly laid out for you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so and like the video if you enjoy it. Also, if anyone has something you'd like me to pray about, leave it in the comments below and we'll have a devotion at the end of tomorrow's video. We plan to make that a regular routine. Now let's get rolling with the Climate Prediction Center update. This is the latest 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center covering March 1st through March 5th. The map shows shades of orange and red. Darker orange indicates a higher confidence for above average temperatures during the first 5 days of March. A lighter shade of orange represents about a 33% chance of above normal temperatures, increasing to 40% and 50% where confidence is medium to high. In the gray areas, which lean one way or the other, I like to interpret that as a likelihood of average temperatures. The blue areas indicate cooler conditions. Overall, it appears that the majority of the country is going to experience at least average, if not slightly to well above average, temperatures for the first 5 days of March. Looking at the precipitation outlook for the same time frame, no region is forecasting below average precipitation. Instead, we're looking at either average or above average chances for precipitation, whether that's snow, rain, or storms. The highest confidence for above normal precipitation is found in the central to southern high plains, where Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Colorado meet. A good portion of the country shows around a 40% chance, with some areas at about 33%. If we shift to the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook covering March 3rd to March 9th, a large area is depicted in gray, indicating roughly a 33% to 36% chance of temperatures being near normal. The southern plains might hold on to slightly above average temperatures, while the northeast is likely to maintain below average temperatures, and the west appears to be cooling off. Some trends in long-range model guidance suggest that the cool down might not be as pronounced as initially thought several days into March, which is a relief even for a cold weather fan like me. Nonetheless, in the 8 to 14 day range, most of the country still leans toward above average precipitation. I'm highlighting this because I believe active weather is on the way as we enter early March. Does this mean we'll just have zonal systems with a lot of rain and maybe a winter weather to rain event? Or will we see systems moving across the country, drawing warm, moist air from the Gulf and increasing the risk of severe weather? It's that time of year, and I'm already watching for that possibility. Essentially, most of the country is looking at a shot for above average precipitation during the first 10 days of March. Now let's examine some model active storm track guidance, looking at the Euro model from overnight, as well as comparing it to the GFS. We focus on the Euro for Wednesday evening, February 26th at 7 p.m. The model shows a piece of northern stream energy moving across the Great Lakes region, the upper Midwest, and into the Ohio Valley. This system could bring some snow to interior New England, but it will mainly produce rain further south along the 95 corridor. The system will dive down with a trough, cutting across the extreme eastern U.S. without significantly affecting the central states. You might notice the blue line, which represents the 540 line. Someone asked in the comments, what is the 540 line? Well, no, think of it as a cold air loft. When you see this initial blue line dive, it indicates that a cooler air mass is moving in. This isn't surface level air, it's higher up in the atmosphere, but it symbolizes the arrival of cooler air. It will bring some unsettled weather to the Northeast on Saturday with some rain here, snow there, and a sharp cold front. But I don't think the front will dive very far south. It seems to swing into the Northeast while energy continues to move into the western U.S. The Euro model shows an upper level disturbance swinging into the west. And since we're about a week out, around next Monday, March 3rd, I want to watch how this trough begins to eject across the country. Pieces of energy are forming in the southwest and ejecting toward the northeast. You can see several L shapes on the model representing multiple pieces of energy and surface lows ejecting across the country. When these small systems eject, they rapidly pull in Gulf moisture, which increases the risk of severe weather. Each low brings its own burst of wind energy, and when these conditions overlap, the potential for severe weather grows. I'm watching that time frame, days 3 through 7, that we've always monitored. I've mostly been focusing on day 5 and beyond, but as always, give or take a day. For example, there's a 989 megabyte low predicted to eject across Kentucky about 9 to 10 days from now. That system is expected to have a snowy side, and as we reach the 5th day time frame, the low pressure steadily strengthens as the millibar reading drops. This will likely create a powerful storm system over the northeast about 10 days out that could bring all kinds of weather. After that, some cold air may try to drop into the lower 48, but I'm not yet seeing a deep shot of cold air, though that could change if we remain in favorable MJO phases. There's a little low on the model that's past 300 hours out, and honestly, I don't think there's much point in looking too far ahead. I wouldn't say we're locking into a storm system at days 8 to 10, but I am watching that time frame closely. The GFS model shows similar behavior. It indicates energy starting off on Wednesday evening with a trough digging down across the eastern U.S. This trough will cool us down for a day or two, even in areas far to the southeast. However, the coldest air will likely remain in the northeast. The system also brings some northwest flow over the northeast on the last day of February. Then another piece of energy will dive in. The GFS wants to show a colder scenario for Saturday morning, March 1st, with snow possibly extending all the way down to New York City, Boston, and southern New England. We'll have to see if the GFS's colder scenario holds up. There are noticeable dips in the blue lines indicating a colder air mass diving into the eastern U.S. with a ridge flexing out in the west. There's also some energy undercutting the ridge out west. And a couple of days later, the GFS shows a 992 millibar low emerging from eastern Colorado. This low deepens quickly to about 984 millibars by Tuesday night into Wednesday morning next week. We're talking quite far out. This system, spanning from the 4th into the 5th, could bring a powerful blizzard to parts of the interior, with severe weather likely to the south of the low. As this low ejects further west across the middle of the country, the Euro model shows it moving much farther east, a powerful low-pressure system crossing Iowa with a severe snowstorm to the north. This is the time frame when I think we might have a very powerful storm system. I've been mentioning the 5th through the 10th, but it could start as early as the 3rd or 4th. A 980 megabyte low then begins to become zonal as cold air presses down, moving more from west to east. It flies over the Great Lakes into southern Ontario and eventually into the northeast, followed by a cold shot. How deep that cold shot will be remains uncertain. The GFS is even hinting at some mischief far south, but since this is past 300 hours out, it isn't something to take too seriously yet. In fact, it even shows a hint of cold air reaching down to Charleston on the afternoon of March 10th. Pretty wild stuff. We'll just have to keep an eye on these developments. But I think this March is going to bring some wild weather. Moving forward, if we look at the snow and severe weather signals, the Euro ensemble through the evening of March 10th, which takes us through the first third of March, most of the snow stays in the typical areas for this time of year up into this region. There isn't a strong signal across the Dakotas or Minnesota, but for those of you in northern Michigan and the Great Lakes, it doesn't look like the snow will slow down. In the interior Northeast and New England, you're likely to continue receiving rounds of snow, whether in the form of lake effect snow, clippers, or other types. I think these recurring cold shots, which don't extend far south, will keep the snow ongoing in those areas. This system will bring some unsettled weather to the Northeast on Saturday, with some rain here, snow there, and a sharp cold front. However, I don't think the cold front will dive very far south. It seems to swing into the Northeast while energy continues to move into the western United States. According to the Euro model, there is an upper level disturbance swinging into the west. And since we're about a week out, around next Monday, March 3rd, I want to watch how this trough begins to eject across the country. Pieces of energy are forming in the southwest and ejecting toward the northeast. You can see several L shapes on the model. These represent multiple pieces of energy and surface lows ejecting across the country. When these systems eject, they rapidly pull in Gulf moisture, which increases the risk for severe weather. Each low brings its own burst of wind energy, and with these overlapping conditions, severe weather becomes more likely.